Basically, I've come here to just tell you all that today's seminar was a great seminar, wherein I have come from an IT background, but I came to know about many other fields where the project management process was, I felt it was more or less the same. I never have learned about the project management process of other fields. And today, which I came to know, it was a great learning for me. And basically today I really enjoyed the seminar a lot.
Yeah, okay.
If you stretch one, the other two will stretch. If you are not coming on time, I'll have to request the speakers to speak 1 hour each from now. It can't be half an hour, 40 minutes. If we don't follow something, we don't have the right to demand something. Yes? Sorry? Great, sir. Only thing, the hotel will not be glad. Because their scope, their cost, and their time is fixed. They will gladly throw us out with the chairs. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to quickly settle down? There are still a few people out there we like to quickly announce. Thank you. All right. In the interest of time, let's not wait for anybody else. We are running a little bit behind schedule. We need to catch up. So I have requested the speakers, and they have kindly agreed to limit their presentations to half an hour each from here. Next, we have Mr. Shashidhar, the founder of Sakafi. Mr. Shashidhar, what his profile doesn't say, he has over 20 plus years of information technology experience. Out there. Switch over. And I'm sorry, Mr. Shashidhar, I've got it wrong. I apologize for that. Again, Mr. Sharma, I'm sorry for that too. Mr. Parvesh Sharma, he's the Managing Director of Tishman Speyer India. Mr. Parvesh has over 20 years of experience in real estate project management with a focus on architectural and engineering projects. Currently, he leads multiple residential and commercial projects in India. And he has successfully been managing the WaveRock and IT and ITES Special Economic Zone project in Hyderabad. And he has served as the Deputy General Manager at ICICI Bank in India. Mr. Sharma, may I request you to kindly come onto the dais. Sorry.
Good afternoon all. I've been told to keep my presentations short. In fact, the presentation which I carry is for my reference points, not something I'll be going by the presentation slides. I will be switching on and off from one slide to another, so please bear with me on that front. Thanks. So as I mentioned, I'll not be strictly going by the presentation slides because I think what is relevant for my presentation is to focus more on the project management activities, which is, as he just mentioned, I'm from the real estate background and done a lot of construction projects. So I see a lot of IT professionals here. And I'm surprised that a lot of construction professionals are not getting into the PMI chapters, which in my opinion is quite relevant for construction guys to understand these project management principles, which are quite relevant in our day-to-day working on the sites, planning of the projects and execution of the projects. These are the standard things we come across, whether it is a construction project or whether it is an IT project. I'll be coming with the relevant real-life experiences on the projects which are used to enhance these projects in terms of the time, quality, which we just talked about, and the cost. A very brief things on the real estate projects. There has been a lot of changes which has happened in the last few years on the real estate projects. The client expectations have changed. There are new challenges which has been thrown up for the real estate companies. We are all driven by a profitability for our organizations, and that's add up to more challenges to us. And that when we talk about the profitability, we are all from the private equity firms, which we talk about in terms of the IRRs, the rate of returns on the projects, which is not only the cost factor or the revenue factor, but it is also a time factor. And the quality factor is something which is inherent in any project and which we have to take care of that one. So within these constraints of the time, the cost, and providing the better quality, I won't say a similar quality, providing a better quality to the clients, how we manage that one. So that these are the new challenges which has come. And I can tell you today the client expectations in terms of the quality has enhanced, which is good for us because of the exposure the clients get it when they move around the world and they see the quality of the building in other parts of the globe. They come back to India and they have a similar expectation what they have seen it in Europe, Middle East, US or the rest of the parts of the globe, and which means that we also have to enhance our capability, our quality standards to come up and meet those expectations of the client. And we luckily have a lot of the international MNCs which are there in Hyderabad, which are there in the rest of part of the India. And I think what good thing has happened on account of this one, because these guys come up with, it's like a brand, establishing a brand. You go to a Meridian Hotel, you go to a Hyatt Hotel across the globe, means you expect a similar level of service quality from these hotels. Similarly, as an organization, we have to develop as a brand that if somebody comes to Tishman Speyer, whether that project is in US, China, Europe, or India, the client is assured of the same quality of the product wherever it is located across the globe. There are constraints in achieving what we are talking about. The time has become a very big challenging thing, because today when we talk about the IRR thing, I will talk something from a finance point of view to people to realize that what are the pressures the design and construction team have it from a time point of view. Because there'll be in the later slides, you will see the ratio between the fixed cost to the variable cost. The cost is I have a straight line on the time side, which is constant through the project. So whether I do it in 36 months or 24 months, that fixed cost remain the fixed cost per month. That is what I have to incur it. That comes in terms of what we call it the general administrative expenditures, which is in terms of the manpower cost, which is in terms of the establishment cost on the site, which is in terms of the security on the site, which is in terms of the equipments on the sites. So these are all part of my fixed costs, which is there, whether I do that project in 24 months or whether I do that project in 36 months. Thanks to markets like Hyderabad, which have not seen too much of an upward movements in the rentals, and that puts an additional pressure on the construction side, because my revenues sides is almost fixed in the last 5 years. We have not seen much upward movement in the rental fronts, which means my cost inflation of the last 5 years is something which I have to manage it, because the 40 rupees, 45 rupees rental has not moved in the same proportion as the inflation has moved up in the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years time. And a lot of our projects, when we take it up and do our initial acquisition analysis, that time we put a inflation to the cost side. We also put rental growth, which generally offsets, but which has not practically happened in the last few years. We expect that will improve in the coming years. Hyderabad has seen a lot of traction in the real estate market. A lot of new interest has happened thanks to the initiative of the current government. So that is really helping the real estate to grow in Hyderabad. I might be digressing to more towards the financial part of it, but that is the challenges which is, when I'm talking about the challenges, that is one of the major challenges which comes when we are looking at a new project's acquisition, when we are looking at budgeting for any projects. If I add just 5% year-on-year inflation of the project which I completed 3 years back, that means I'm adding 15% inflation to any project which will be starting it this year. The projects become unviable. And then we have to look for the areas of value engineering, look for how to cut short the time, so to give the similar IRR, which is the expectations of most of the investors, global investors across. So when we are FDI, and we'll bring a lot of FDI monies into the real estate projects, and these guys come with a fixed expectations on the IRR front, so which need to be met. Otherwise, there is no project. So that is what it is. And then there are challenges on the manpower side, team building. We will talk about the leadership, and I think somewhere all these areas are all interlinked, and that's why I said I might be switching over from one slide to another, just to make these things more relevant for understanding. And as I mentioned earlier, most of the guys I find here is from the IT sector, so from a relevance point of view, the exact context may not be you find directly relevant, but if you look at the challenges, how we are addressing those challenges and how the processes we are doing it, the similar things can be applied to any field of work which you are doing it, whether it is IT, non-IT, construction, infrastructure. It's a similar challenge which is there. So I think I had already talked about on the finance side, the kind of growth which is there, major sector, major employment sectors in any economy across the globe. The real estate employs a lot of manpowers. It's a manpower intensive sectors, and that brings what has happened in the last 10 years or 15 years in the Indian construction industry is, if we had talked to somebody about 20 years back when we came out of the college and asking somebody for a job in the construction field, it was a no-no. There were no good jobs, and that has set the trend. When you couldn't find, means it was a cyclic process. So there are not, a requirement is not there, so supply has also diminished. I would say quality supply got diminished. People were still graduating as a civil engineers, but without a job. After 5-10 years, the situation has changed. Suddenly there are a lot of projects on the real estate front, on the infrastructure front. There is a lot of demand of the manpower which has come, but that time you didn't have good quality, qualified civil engineers or civil professionals who are available to execute good projects. We had seen these trends in the last 10 years where there's a good requirement, and that has also put a challenge that when you are not having the right kind of resources, how to compensate that by either using a different technology or changing your construction methodology or changing your process. That may lead to cost increase or time increase. That is something which need to be evaluated depending upon the specific project requirement. So the client expectation is, all of us are looking to serve our clients better. So as I started initially, that high quality product is something which today means we had seen in our campuses when we have initial discussions with the clients which are coming from rest of the part of the globe, and they are into a better quality of the building in the rest of the globe. They expect to find some building which of a similar standard. And that is a challenge which all these new companies face it when they come to India, because as I said, in the last 10-15 years only we have seen this growth in the real estate on the commercial space. So commercial space, quality of the building have started improving. We have come close to the expectations of the client, but I think there is still a lot of areas of improvements are required. The project we built up in Gachibowli was designed ahead of time because we had gone ahead with what the expectations are there for the US clients in US, and we did it with a similar design philosophy. Design brief was given to the consultant on the similar manner, But in that process, we realized that there is a value of money which has to come from that one. Not only for the client, for us as well. When the client is willing to pay you 35, 36, 40, 45 rupees rental, and my construction cost does not match up to that 46 rupees, how to make that project a success? Financially, it has to be a success, otherwise there will be no money flowing in for the new projects. Then we are also very conscious about when we are committing the timelines to our clients. Sometimes the clients come up with very unreasonable demand, and a lot of you guys represent the client. You know that some of these requirements are come up overnight from your various different verticals within your own teams. We have seen it, I have seen it in my previous organization, that suddenly you'll find one vertical says that, no, I need to house 1,000 people in the next 3 months and find a space. On a thumb rule basis, that is 100,000 square feet of the space which is required. You can't build that space in 3 months. Then you get into the incubation spaces, which you have to cater for, that put them in incubation space for 3 months, and the 3 months get compressed to 60 days. And the original schedule of which was 3 years has to be compressed to 2 years or probably lesser. Luckily, in the last 3-4 years, I think luckily or unluckily, means that the demand was not much. So we have not gone through that time pressure. But in the last 2 years, the things have changed. There is a lot of new requirement coming up, and there is less of supply because people have burned their finger in the past, and that's why the supply has reduced. But now we are in a situation where suddenly the supply is a shortage, the demand is high. So what we can do it to stay ahead of time. We had a very good case study internally in our organization where one of very reputed client, I think most of you will be knowing it, they come up and we didn't want to lose that client. Their requirement was that we wanted X number of people to be seated by A time, then another Y number of people to be seated by B, and then another set of people will be C, D, and so on. And this was all compressed within 1 to 1.5 years time period. Initial discussions with the PMCs or with the brokers, means we were out of the race. We said we cannot match those timelines, and that's what the response which went from our leasing people to the CRE guys. We realized it is a big opportunity. We can't miss that. The client is a big name, and it also gives us that getting such a big client to Hyderabad was something which we really take pride of that one. So we crashed our timelines to meet the requirement of this specific client. And people who understand construction in more detail or any project it is applicable, the 24 months original duration project, we compressed it to 13 months. I have not seen this kind of things happening, that 24 months we are trying to complete in 30 months just to get a client in, because it's a big name, and we also wanted from a financial point of view to make our project success. So these are the client expectations, how to meet that challenges. See, one is simply saying that 24 months project I can complete it in 13 months. Is there a plan for it? Is it really viable? Is it people convinced with it? Is it your own team convinced with it? Forget about the external agencies. The external agencies would know less about the construction, the client who's an IT client. For him, you said it 24 to 13 months, probably he believes you, probably he doesn't believe you. He will put additional clauses in the lease agreement to ensure that if you don't deliver it in 13 months, means you will face heavy penalties from their side. That's what the objective of the client. But is the person, as the DNC, as the design and construction team, how to deliver that in 13 months? And I think not only saying 13 months delivery, how to make the people believe that originally what we targeted was for 24 months, now we have to do it in 13 months. And I'm sure, means when we spoke internally, when we spoke to the senior management, when we spoke to the people below to everybody in the team, the reactions was all, means, okay, people were listening to you, people were not getting connected with you. Means you tell them 13 months, yeah, okay, fine, that's it. So how to make people believe? So when I'm saying the leadership and the team building, these planning, these all get connected together. You can't have one thing without having the other thing. If your team does not believe in that target, whatever you put it on those timelines, I can tell you it will never happen. Your team feels that, okay, 13 months boss is saying it, let him say it. Yeah, means we know that he is probably inexperienced, or he's probably just saying it for the sake of the client to believe them, but it's not going to happen. If everybody in your team feel it that way, I can assure it is not going to happen. Then on the sustainability side, everybody is today looking at LEED silver is the bare minimum, or LEED gold is something which is acceptable as a standard to going to any new building. Whether people understand or people don't understand, but LEED requirement is there. But we go beyond that LEED requirement. LEED comes automatically with that. So when we design our products, we make sure that these products, these buildings, the built environments are sustainable for a longer period of time.